Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Compendium. If you're new, my name's Gozy. Now, I don't know if I've ever addressed this, but I'm a pretty big Dungeons & Dragons fan. I like all the dice, the books, the fantasy, and playing with my group of friends online. After one of those sessions, I was trying to think of new video ideas that I could do. Different concepts, different ideas, and something that popped into mind was talking about some of the D&D characters that I have played, since I've done things from Adventures League to some just handful of stuff on the side in a couple of local lounges to these current campaigns that I'm doing online. So I figured, why not? And the first character that I should talk about should be the character that I'm currently playing, Otis Ashbrew, otherwise known as Ash. So starting off, first few things that I want to make clear are some rules in this world so that you can understand where Ash is coming from a little bit better. First of all, Drow are one of the most populated races in this world, making them near as common as humans. Almost. Not quite, but near. Which means that they don't have the same issues with sensitivity to sunlight or anything like that, and it's also not like taboo or you're not scared if you see a drow. Actually, it's probably just a Tuesday. I am going to clarify here, I'm going to be talking more about Ash's past and his history, rather than talking about anything that has to do with the current campaign, just because if I were to, I would need to go into a lot more of lore and world building than I am comfortable with right now, and instead I just want to make a little bit of a fun video talking about this character here that I'm drawing right now, because he consumes my every waking thought, and he's died 3 times, so I want to give him somewhat of a memoriam. He's not dead right now, but I can talk about that later if anybody else is curious about him. And with that, I can get into talking more about Ash himself. Ash himself is a middle child of a family of 5, which consists of his 2 sisters and his parents. His parents own an apothecary brewery shop around the southern region. As an aspiring wizard, he grew up with a lot of stories about heroes and magic and sorcery, explicitly about one of the major heroes of the world that revolutionized magic in a way that had never been done before, Jeremiah, who was a dragon-born, dragon-ish, character that he idolized. So one day, while scrubbing out pots and pans and thinking of all of the different things that he could be doing with his life, he asked his parents if he could go to magic school, or someplace that had some sort of tutorage, something that he could do to learn that skill. It took a little bit of convincing, but his parents eventually agreed, but as a counter, they said that he had to earn the money for both the trip and the school. So Ash started working towards it. He did start this relatively young, so the equivalent of his young teenage years, so around 11, 12, but really closer to like 50 years old in the D&D like elf years. So he started working, and he learned how to mix potions. He learned a variety of languages for all of the different customers that would come into both the brewery as well as the apothecary. He learned how to do a good brew, how to make food, all of these sorts of things, while collecting tips and saving them throughout the years. Finally, he had enough money to collect that he could scour out a guild and actually have a decent talking point. He found one, even, in his parents' own shop. The Ivory Boar is a guild that was run by one of the world's juggernauts. And as such, Ash thought it would be perfect. Something that would be trustworthy, helpful, and able to get back and forth relatively quickly. Finally getting a chance to fully sit down with one of the members, he got a deal struck up convincing them to take him to the city so that he could learn. And he thought that would be it. He packed up his stuff, he said goodbye to his parents, he had the money, and he gave it to them as payment. That was it. He thought he would be ready and done. And as he waved goodbye to his family, he would never have anticipated what would happen next. Halfway through the trip, he was thrown into a cage. It was a terrifying experience. An elf before his maturity, going out on his own, trying to learn anything he could about the world and magic, and he was dragged off by these guild members into the city that he idolized for years and learning how he might be able to do magic, and was put up for auction. This is relatively rare for Drow in this world, as they are the most common race. A lot of the time when you see a Drow, they are completely free and considered very rare slaves. But he was bought by a nobleman that was a human. Ash was a slave throughout the majority of his life, and the nobleman's life. He lived in his castle and was mostly used for mixing drinks, writing books, and tutoring his son. It was lucky in that respect. Because he was a rare commodity, he was viewed as precious. He never really felt like it. Thankfully, as part of the tutelage for the noble's son, he was able to find multiple books in the noble's library that he could scavenge up a little bit of magic about. Never anything substantial, but enough that he thought that maybe he could plan an escape. So he helped the young noble child as much as he could, stuck out with one of his friends that he had made among the staff, and crossed his fingers that one night he might be able to escape. He was 195. The noble was old, decrepit, finally falling ill and unable to maintain himself. The young noble, the child that he had helped raise, he feels infancy, was gone, off to collect glory and prestige. So Ash snuck into his room. The nobleman, as said, was old. Ash had seen him through his twilight years all the way up to this point, and he knew he could get away. It wasn't going to be long until he passed. So he scrounged up and found the artifact that he knew the nobleman had, a wand. Something that he thought might be able to harness and use as a focus for his magical ability. And used it, he did. To his surprise, as he sat with it for a little bit, it felt like he could cast spells that he didn't fully know, and he chose to use it to cast invisibility on himself and escape the nobleman's house. Unfortunately, Ash didn't realize how sick the nobleman actually was, and didn't understand that the night that he left was the night that that nobleman was going to pass. Unfortunately, being that he ran away, they left a question hanging in the air for the young nobleman who learned that his father's servant, or slave, had ran away, and his father had died the same evening. As such, wanted posters were put up, asking and looking for Ash. He went so far as to change his name, taking on the moniker of Ash instead of his legal name of Otis Ashbrew. He had hoped, eventually, that the hype of him running away would die down, but he was being hunted by the ivory boar itself. So he spent a long time running. And that's where the campaign starts. Ash finds a new group of friends who embark on a journey and meet powers far, far beyond them. If you're at all interested in hearing more about that, and about the shenanigans, and oh my goodness, the skeleton bar, which yes, I can talk about in full detail, I would love to hear your input below in the comment section. If you'd rather not, that's perfectly fine, completely understandable, but just saying. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this little video of mine. I love talking about Ash. I could go on tangents. I did go on tangents. I had to cut down so much audio for this and redo so many parts. It was insane. But I had a lot of fun, and I hope you all enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to see you for the next video. Looking at it, it should be relatively spooky. So, hope you like it, and I'll see you guys then. Have a good day!